Hello and welcome to Upload,
A podcast by those who upload for those who want to.
or who already do.
And anyone else for that matter.
My name is Lionheart and I've been creating content for over a decade.
And my name's Midgeman, and I've been trying to create content for almost a decade.
Together with some of our friends and fellow content creators, we're going to be exploring the great big world of content creation.
We'll be looking into the serious topics that face content creators today.
Because if someone said that to me, like, in person, or said that kind of stuff to me, you know, IRL, I wouldn't take it. So why would I take it, like, online? Why would I hide aspects of sort of my identity?
As well as some less serious topics.
I've been blindsided by the fact that one of your old live streams is called Suck My Missile for like the last
Sorry,
10
what?
minutes.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Upload.
Hello and welcome to Upload, the content creation podcast for those who upload, those who want to, and everyone else for that matter. My name is Midgeman.
And I'm Lionheart.
And before we get on with today's episode, it's going to be a long one for like mentally. Before we get on, we have to, of course, say, please remember to like, rate, turn on any auto downloaders and interact with the podcast, whatever way you can. It really helps us out. And if you want to get in touch with the podcast, you can do so in the YouTube and Spotify comments, on our Discord. I remembered to say it this time. And also via our email, hello@uploadpodcast.co.uk. Now, I alluded to what this episode is going to be in the last episode because of the email that we got. Chaos! It's going to be chaos because welcome to the show for the first time. Not the first time you've heard them, the first time we've heard them live. Outside of when they're shouting at us in our ears, they are the most wonderful people. We could not do this show without them. It is, of course, Dan and Foxy. Welcome to the show. It's
Howdy
the cursed
ho.
episode, everybody. We're all here.
I've just realised everyone's titles under their names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine and Fox's are entirely factual, you see.
Because I don't think these will make it onto the podcast. I would just say mine is Midgeman, the mightiest of Modge. Lionheart is Tech Guru, because I think I wrote that when you were having your tech problems.
I feel like it should be like tech guru ... sometimes.
No, I put Tech Guru ironically because it was the time that you had all your tech problems.
Oh, I was having all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Dan, you have the best producer ever. And
Factual.
Foxy, you have the best editor in the world. But
Absolutely.
for those of you who, for people that might not have listened to the podcast before or know about you guys, can you tell us a bit about yourselves? We'll start with you, Dan.
Oh, you'll start with me, will you? Oh, I see. Yeah,
I've
fair
been
enough.
picked at school again, isn't it?
It is. I'm always picked first because I'm just that good. Well, I'm Dan. I'm the producer of the podcast. I also do a lot of editing for you, Midgeman. A lot of individual bits of filming that we've done in the past. I'm kind of the go-to person when you need something done in a relative sense. I'm a fixer. I fix life, midges specifically, and make sure it's all going in a relatively straightforward, like, sort of sense.
I feel like that's a podcast episode in itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you fix Midge's life, Dan?
Man, that's the question, isn't it? Really?
And Foxy, or should I say Nikki now, because that's out in the wide world.
Well, hello. My name's Nikki.
Spawn.
Hello.
I have to say, technically, hashtag not sponsored, just to be covered, even though there's someone in this group that is hashtag sponsored by those people. But the podcast is not sponsored by Holy.
Please sponsor us. We need money.
Introduce yourself, damn it.
Hello, I'm Nikki, also known as Fox or Foxy. I used to be a content creator for about 7 years, 5 years full-time. Then I got burnt out. I retired. I quit. Had a bit of a cry, and then somewhere in there, I got hired by Midgeman, who I've known for a while. I do most of his editing. Currently doing just the podcast. Dan's doing everything else because he's wonderful. I have 2 cats, but I edit things, and it's fun.
You're the main podcast editor. Everything that people have seen thus far, and we'll get onto this a little bit because the reason we brought these 2 wonderful people on today is to talk about editing and life working in the industry a little bit, because they have a unique perspective of either once being creators or not being creators, or people that have been around creators for a long time but working more in the I'm not going to say the shadows because you're a big part of the content we create, but like that more collaborative, assisty sort of side hustle. And like, I will say that like Fox was not initially meant to be the podcast editor. It was meant to be Dan, but me and Dan were deep in a client project, so Foxy stepped up, did it.
You're deep in a client. I was like, okay.
that too.
I did not know about that one.
Fine. Okay, deep in a client project, so Foxy stepped up, and then we were like, nah, Foxy, you got this. This is your project now. Like, and it's been her baby and her torment ever since.
Yep.
But also, I'm struggling not to call Foxy Foxy because I knew Foxy IRL through an ex-girlfriend of mine.
Who's my best friend.
I got bullied into accidentally dropping her real name while she was content creating live because she didn't want people to know. So I've had to train it out of myself to never call her Nikki. And
I completely get you that as well. I get that so much.
And now it's like, no, I'm fine with people calling me Nikki. It's out in the world because I'm not content creating. That's my brand as an editor. I'm like, sake,
all the shot collar training wasted.
A lot of my friends that have known me from Twitch that have also known my real name have suddenly gone, I can't call you your real name because I'm so used to to Fox and Foxy. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, please do what you want. I do not mind, but like, we're gonna get deep into the conversation of editing, but like, it's for the sake of me getting like work and being seen as like an editor and like official. Yeah, like you wouldn't hire someone called Fox or Foxy. I mean, you would, but like realistically, if I'm going to go and try and get a job by a bigger studio, I'd rather have my real name down on there.
It's professionalism at that point, isn't it? And then Dan, so that's how I met Foxy. And then Dan I met through Foxy because we needed help. Me and Foxy were drowning in the amount of work that I had taken on. Because I am a glutton for punishment and I never stop. I've only then filled the extra time that Dan's that joined us from with more work. It's how it works. But Dan, I had him hired for 3 weeks at this point. He was still on like the minimum we were doing. We were still working out what we were doing with you. And something fell through in a client project and I went, hey, Dan, do you want to come to Poland with me for 8 days?
It's like the trial by fire, really, isn't it? Like, sort of, you've never really met a person before, and then they were like, so I'm going to whisk you away to a different country.
We'd had 3 meetings. Like, we'd had 3, like, since hired meetings at this point.
Literally.
Going to come to Poland and potentially, like, budget allowing, we might have to share a bed.
That was by choice.
We did multiple times.
A king bed.
Yeah, that wasn't like a punishment, honestly.
It's how we both got COVID.
So what are the benefits working for you? We can cuddle in bed.
Legitimately, the first time meeting Dan in person was at Heathrow Airport at 4:30 a.m.
So early.
And being like, hi, is this going to be weird? Luckily, it was not. It was actually just like, I was like, oh, it feels like we've known each other for months or years at this point. But it was like,
It's because I literally remember walking through the door, just getting out of the taxi, which cost me like £100 or something stupid. Because like that was the only way I was going to get to Heathrow for that time in the morning. And like, I walked through the thing, pulling my like suitcase, bleary-eyed, just basically going, why am I doing this to myself? Saw Midge sitting there with what I can only describe as a backpack full of wires that looked like a bomb. And and going...
That's what we want at Heathrow.
I mean, this is the professionalism I'm really looking for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a military-style backpack full of electronics and batteries and wires.
Pink military-style backpack.
The pink is the thing that makes it less problematic, but on actually... I was trying to say something that wasn't problematic as a descriptor there. But on an X-ray, that backpack, there was a reason I got stopped for hours at airports.
I wish we had a picture for that so bad, because it looked horrendous. Just blocks with wires going everywhere in it. But yeah, walking through that airport at that time in the morning, seeing him sitting there with a backpack, and then basically going, we have a week together, we're either going to want to murder each other by the end of the week, or we're going to be like inseparable for the rest of our lives. And I think we've come out of it basically going like, we don't hate each other. That's good for one thing. Now we're pretty much stuck together for the rest of our lives because we worked well together.
Considering how dying we were as well by the end of that, because not only had we just done 9 days straight of production, like from 9 a.m. to midnight, but we were also riddled with disease. And we didn't know that it was COVID until we got back, because all of the COVID tests that we took in Poland
Didn't come through.
came up negative. Anyway, but these are the two wonderful people that help put on everything that you're seeing. And today we're going to deep dive into editing, because all four of us edit. All four of us have different styles of how we edit. We all have different tips. And a lot of people, I think, when they're... I can't say the word tip, can I?
If we're going at the word tip, it's a great...
Jesus Christ.
I heard tip, and then I heard in my head. It's like, oh god.
We do have different... That's true.
We all have our own different unique styles. We have different processes. We are the worst group of people to have in a professional call environment. The first thing I'm going to ask everybody on my list of questions that I've got is, what do you edit on? What is your preferred, or what have you edited on? Like, what is your editing software?
A computer.
Nice.
For example, I use Adobe Premiere, but in my past, I have also used Sony Vegas. I sadly preferred the experience on Premiere from the time that I switched from Sony Vegas. I'm not sure that would be the case now. And I am absorbed by the megacorp that is Adobe for like all of my life right now. But a lot of editors have different things. I know that my team tend to all use Adobe for ease, but also, like, I just want to hear what you guys use.
I'm going to go last because I've got the most that I can use.
Oh, wow. No, yeah, I started off with Sony Vegas years and years ago when I used to edit for and giggles, and then I realized that I don't want to edit. I did, because I did cinematography as a specialization at uni. Sony Vegas was just available. It was what I had. It was really straightforward, and then I switched over to Premiere, which crashes and has the weirdest bugs, but it works for me. And since kind of getting comfortable using it, it's kind of what I can use. I don't really have any other choices of things.
I'm also a Premiere Pro boy with my subscription sold to Adobe, although I did also use Sony Vegas, and up until about 2012, so 3 years, I used Windows Live Movie Maker because
Post
it was
the point it was in production for.
Yeah,
they no
I had
longer
to
put that on.
I had to
PCs.
I had to download a separate like file because it was like on Windows like legacy programs because it wasn't packaged with it anymore.
That's agony.
But the reason why I stuck with it is because I was switching between Live Movie Maker and into Sony Vegas, but Live Movie Maker rendered way faster, so I used that. It was like half the time of Sony Vegas. So and then I saw the light at like 2015-ish or so, Premiere Pro, I think.
That does bring me deep, inconsolable pain that you edited on that for so long. But hey, all power to you, quite frankly. Well, I edit on a lot, or can edit on a lot. So I can edit on basically any software you get pre-built on a PC. So like I did edit on obviously I've tried Windows Movie Maker before, but I've also done iMovie, all that sort of stuff as well on Macs, because I've been moving across both platforms all my life. I can edit on Avid, I can edit on DaVinci Resolve, I can edit on Prem, I can edit on Final Cut, I can edit on Sony Vegas. Yeah, I can edit on pretty much anything. If it's got the editor name in the title, I can probably edit on it.
If it's got a timeline, you can edit it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can you edit on Camtasia?
I have used Camtasia in the past. It's the last thing I'd ever want to use ever again.
I'm going to say, I was like, don't want to touch that.
I remember a friend of mine when I was a very long while ago, I did do like fun little YouTubey stuff for me and my friends did, and we just have fun with it. And they said they used Camtasia, and as I was using, I think it was Sony Vegas at the time, and I tried. That's when I tried using it, and it was the most painful software I've ever had to use in my entire life. I'm never going to go back or ever plan to use it properly.
As a company, though, we tend to use the Adobe Suite together because also we use its share functions. And I say that with the absolute curse because we have so many problems with it at the moment in the current builds. But also myself and Dan do a little bit of After Effects work for when we do some certain edits. And we also have a load of plugins that we also use generally, just as a general list of tools of things that we use. Like we have a plugin called Submachine, which I cannot remember who it's by, but that's how we do a lot of subtitle work on some of our...
I thought for a minute you were about to say, I can't remember what it does, but we have it, we use it. It's great.
It automatically creates motion graphic subtitles is what it does from SRT scripts that you then have to edit. It takes about 3 or 4 hours out of a process. It's actually not what we're using for upload. We're using a different method, which is via Opus Clip's own caption editing. But it's what we've done for. It's what I use for various client work, and same with Dan. We also have some other. Oh God, we've got some other plugins. I think we use
Film
Impact's Transitions plugin, which I pay for I think it's called the Big Box subscription. Really good, like Premiere Pro transition set has a lot of really good presets that are really clean. Motion camera and the push functions are like perfect.
And motion tween if you really want to go crazy with like sort of moving stuff around.
Yep. And then I also have a subscription to Motion Array, which is a stock site. They also have a plugins that we have, like their shaker effect, like their camera shake and stuff is also very, very good. But that's it. That's what we use really. And then in addition to that, we have a subscription to Envato Elements, which we use for stuff. We also use Epidemic Sound for songs in our edits, which is, I think a lot of people know the name of. And and then Motion Array, which is they're like the 3 hubs that we draw a lot of our creative stuff from. I'm going to let you two be brutal now, I think, with this next question. I'll open this up to Lion as well. So,
who's your favourite?
No. Which one of us is your favourite? Obviously, this company, I always put it in air quotes, technically on paper and legally according to HMRC, it's a company.
For tax purposes. Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. But what are the challenges with working with a content creator? He says, knowing full well he means himself.
I mean, honestly,
screen.
I mean, honestly, if I'm genuinely being serious here, I don't think there are that many major issues that I've come into contact with. If anything, it's just more like sort of because you've got so many other things on, it makes you hard to pin down for certain stuff sometimes. But honestly, other than that, like sort of, it's just about like, I don't really have any other issues at the moment. This is just him getting away to like sort of for me to be nice to him for once, as opposed to the way I normally am.
Please could you post all formal reviews on Glassdoor, please?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Actually,
this is secretly, this is your what's it called assessment, and there's this like
6 month review.
I have some things I want to say.
Oh no,
Too damn long.
Okay, so I will say, having worked with other creators and other clients, you're probably one of my favorite when it comes to giving me the right footage and assets and telling me what you want, and your feedback is fantastic.
I'd agree.
You have a plan in your head when you set out to do something, and that helps me because there's a difference between telling an editor, hey, like this is exactly what I want, and then going, actually, I don't know, and then going, do whatever you want. But like when you say do whatever you want, we still need some kind of like idea to go with something. So with that, you're really good. In terms of actually responding to messages in time and seeing messages, absolutely not. It is the worst thing. I have to message you on Snapchat after messaging you on Discord, maybe Instagram. I haven't called you yet, but I'm sure that will happen one day. So in terms of that, you are horrendous.
Fox, have you considered maybe that's just you? He messages me straight back like every time.
Shut up.
Crazy.
No, so
I haven't finished. Wait, let me talk.
Yeah.
Shut up. Let me finish. So that is the other thing, is just not responding in time. Me asking a question and just or you'd respond then you'd vanish.
Yeah, actually, that's fair. That is fair.
Where'd you go, my guy? I'm trying to think if there's anything else really apart from those two things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Both of you, like the first sort of fully paid opportunity in the industry for, like, in terms of content creation for a long-term commitment was through me, right?
Actually, yes. Actually, Daxenholm was through me.
That is fair.
That's true.
Sorry,
That's
I will
very
always
true.
brag about this
Do you
because
get an affiliate kickback?
But did you say?
of the-
Did you say? Yeah. I mean, yeah. I did technically do some shorts for you when about this time last year. Actually, now I think about it,
before I quit,
and some banger shorts they were.
those are really good shorts.
Dan is like, his big thing is shorts. We just don't have room to do it right now.
That's Midge's way of kind of going like, remember guys, I made you. I can unmake you.
It's not that. It's more the fact of it's more the fact, get in the car, you're coming with me. Is
Oh, no, it's worse. Oh,
it's one of those things of as well, like I don't know how it's like. How has your experience been now that you are as editors in the content creator industry outside of like just generally? How have you found that switch? Because both of you have a film background. Fox, you were a creator beforehand.
I don't know how much I can say. I don't want to be cancelled. Because I will say,
What are you going to say that's going to
You're
get you
the editor.
cancelled?
You're the editor.
blowing
You can decide later.
The book of secrets is being blown wide open
no,
today,
I will
boys.
say, because this is like a whole entire thing where I quit or retire from streaming, and I've been in it for so long that I, as both you, Lion and Midgeman have seen, content creation has changed so much within the last 10 years. The rose-tinted glasses that I had starting out 7 years ago, when like 5 years into content creation, like the last 5 years that I had full time, and then I quit like in November of 2023. It's being an editor and then seeing all this stuff and just like that creators do. There's things that I'm like, some are not fully aware of what it takes to be in an edit, or what it takes to do an edit. When it's not just them, it's if they ask someone else. There's so much that goes into it, and to be fair, I am part of that person. I used to be like that because like before I full-time did editing, I didn't understand like how much it's like art. It's like if you commission an artist, you're not fully aware of how much goes into the commission. It's the same with editing. And there's, I think, creators that aren't aware. They see an artist and they're like, oh yes, I'll commission this artist and I'll be so polite and respectful. But I feel like that's not the same with editors. I don't know if there's a specific, like, an intentional or unintentional divide when it comes to creators and editors. But I think it is there, having had first-hand experience.
I think more creators would benefit spending some time pushing through I think a lot of people like bounce off when they see like how complex something like Premiere initially looks when you're unfamiliar. I remember going to that from Sony Vegas and going, where's the timeline? Where's the preview? Oh, I've got to set it all up first. I've got to like create the canvas first. Then, oh, there's my timeline. I've stretched it all out and everything else. And then it started making sense. But I think a lot of people and I understand because, you know, time is money and things like that. And you don't have necessarily all the time to learn a whole suite. But I think a lot more creators would potentially benefit from at least trying to and pushing through a little bit more. Because also I think it helps when I do some bits with Havoc about intros. And I'm like, if we can change the specific composition of the clip at this point, when you know a little bit about the interface or just a little bit more about the ins and outs of editing itself, I think you can get a far more representational like finished product of what you actually want, and you also know what you're talking about a little bit more, which helps massively when you speak the language of the editor, when you're on the same page, basically, rather than going like, can you make me fly halfway through this segment, please? And they're like, well, you're not keyed out, first of all, so that's going to be difficult. I need a blank canvas for that, and have you got the static shot?
Welcome to rotoscoping.
Yeah, cool. So I can do it, but it's going to take a lot of time and effort to do that.
Yes, you say that. Nowadays, it doesn't take anywhere near as long because of the recent rotoscope changes.
Yeah, rotoscoping 3.0 on After Effects is...
Okay, I now want to hover and fly on all of these.
Oh, that would be so much processing, to be fair. It's an intense thing.
I want to just be a floating little head with wings.
On that subject matter of, even if you don't learn to edit, learning some of the technical terms and like watching some editing tutorials just so you can converse with an editor will go a long way.
I think even just to say, like, just opening up the editing software yourself and looking at how it's laid out, so because otherwise you'll say, oh, can you make it do this at this point? And they'll be like, well, yes, but I need to do this and that. Like knowing some of the terminology, knowing roughly where the layout is and stuff would be good.
I'd also say, adding to line out what you said about the creator understanding editing, I'd say it's also, as someone who used to be a creator and is now an editor, it's so much easier for me to converse with creator clients who, for instance, may have never had an editor before, and trying to find a middle ground of how to discuss with them like what they want, and trying to get into their head and be like, but what, like, I can't do this, but we could try this, and just seeing, like, finding ways of getting them to basically explain themselves better, because it's really hard as well to, like, as a creator, be like, because even if, let's say, as a creator you do edit, you might not know how to work with someone who's an editor who knows things, and you're like, how do I do this? And I think as an editor, your job is also to kind of like a little bit help your client out. If you have an honest client, the best thing in the world, they'll make your job so much easier because you're both aware where you stand and like what the experience is on both your sides, I think, as well.
To follow on from that, it's also lovely coming into the like sort of YouTube space, because I have had way easier times communicating with clients than I have in any other job editing wise I've done before this. Because before I came into here, I was doing for marketing and businesses like that, which is the most dry and dire place on earth. Working for like marketing people who are doing business to business was some of the most mind-numbing editing I've ever had to do in my life, because it's just some inane stuff. And the worst part is they ask you to do X, Y, Z. Like I was asked to animate people in a video, and I was like, I'm not an animator, I'm a video editor. And they were like, what's the difference? Like there is
just fix it.
There is so one of those cases basically, yeah. And I was also asked to turn a poster into a video once. Now you may ask,
yeah, gotta love that. Like, yeah, do this thing, but we're not going to provide any of the stock footage you need to do this thing, or any of the assets you need.
I mean,
please make them.
I did make a banger video out of that poster, I'm going to be honest, though. Because I basically just went into Photoshop, took all the assets out of the poster, and then turned it into an actual thing with that way. So there is obviously things you can do with it, but it's asking your client to do things that, when you have no idea how you do them, it makes them so hard to actually do for the person who's editing the stuff for you, because they're trying to figure out on the fly while also then trying to make it good enough for an actual business to use. And when I've come to YouTube, though, like now, like I'm able to go like, oh, I can try this, and they're like, oh, we could also try this, and you get back and forth, and you get so much more talking from it. It becomes so much easier to work with these people, apart from Midge, and like then you can basically from that point on, you just build a like sort of a working relationship, and you kind of get a feel for how the other person works. And I think that's kind of the situation I am in right now with like you and me, Midge, because we've kind of got to the point where we're now scripting videos together, and we're like actually then turning them to fully fledged videos.
As a creator kind of looking for an editor, that's the ideal, right? You need to get someone that's roughly on the same wavelength of, because that I mean, that's for the long, well, I mean, the only time I've actually kind of outsourced editing is either to Havoc to do some custom intros for me, and like that's me essentially giving him the pitch of what I'm looking for, sometimes providing him with a load of assets or video trailers to then take various elements out to mix them all together for me. Or it was while my wife was on paternity leave, she started doing the editing, and I said, like, it's not that there's loads of talented people out there that I could get, but you're literally here right next to me, and I can explain my vision. And also, for me, it's I've built up a way of creating content that I know where my natural pauses and breaks are, and when things to look for in the waveforms of the audio stuff to be like, right, there's where I'm taking a break or I'm talking to chat, cut that bit. And I was like, it's going to take a lot of time to kind of train someone up to know instinctively to look for those bits. So either I've started doing it myself, or I literally sat my wife down and was like, right, today we're learning how my brain works in waveform. Like, that's a spike. You know what that means now. And like, I have various bits of setting all my alert audio to a totally different track so that I know if I ever were to give it to an external editor, I'd be like, worst case, look for all the audio peaks on this fourth track, because that usually follows me going off on a tangent or thanking someone in chat or something like that. even at that, it almost should be almost like a minimum for creators if you are working with an editor, like adding in like an additional track or some kind of cue to make it easy. Because otherwise, you're essentially saying, please rewatch this probably at least 2 or 3 times, then start working out where the edits need to go and planning out all the crops and pans and everything else that I want. Whereas this way, I'm like, here's the cheat sheet almost at the bottom. Follow those, and you probably can't go too much wrong if you manage to find another pause or look, he's somehow upside down on his chair now. Why is that happening? Maybe we'll keep it in. That's the video now. But yeah.
One of the things that's really helps our process as a team is the fact that we already had an interpersonal relationship, which I don't think you'll get everywhere. It's one of the, so like I've been doing Fox's taxes for the last 6 years, for example. So we already had like a very, like we knew each other IRL. We have a genuine friendship. One of the reasons I foresay that even post my relationship that I had with my previous partner that I met Nikki through, the fact that we always turned to each other to talk to about the industry. We already had that same understanding of where we were in the space, what we wanted to do with the space, which meant, and it was one of those things, I'd already trusted you with like doing like little art pieces because you're also an artist. You drew like a lot of my emotes originally and stuff.
I still do them.
And like, or like, I've thrown like one-off like channel trailers at you over the years, or at least helped me find the footage and stuff for it. But it's like one of those things of, he's just left. I was about to transition to talking about Dan.
He's gone. It's like, I've had enough of this.
Also, I want to say this while he's not able to hear. The stand for his
Vive, yeah.
It makes him look like a black and white Teletubby with the headset on.
Or like was it? Which one is it? Is it Tinky Winky?
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So knowing you in knowing you like IRL meant we had an understanding of how we'd work together, but it was still a challenge at first. But we found that vibe. And then with Dan, I would say the fact that I did drag you to Poland. We were like forced into a traditional filming scenario and content creating using our disciplines, because I have a background in acting and film. Dan and Foxy both have backgrounds in film, and like working with Dan on essentially an air quotes actual film set. And production environment but having that as the goal for making for YouTube really allowed us to feel out what we would do. And then basically I turned to both of these people and go, I'm failing, help. And since then, like, you know, our creative experience has changed. Like, we're working a lot like I would say now these days more than anything, and it's always something I intended for the channel, is Midgeman and all the TMW stuff is a collaborative process. Like, upload is a collaborative process. We all, as a group, provide like feedback and talk about this. Like, when we do,
except for me,
edit. Who's that then?
We throw them on. That's another thing that we use. We have Frame.io, which is a reviewing software. We can upload and we can add like live comments at timestamps to like review footage.
When you're able to.
When I'm able to. I am a horrendously busy person under my other thing. It's just like, yeah, I don't ever get to the reviewing anymore. I've watched 15 minutes of the 2-hour cut down of Fallout London's first episode.
You've watched 15, have you now? Nice.
Yeah. I've watched 15. I've added one comment. And the thing is now I have to watch those review videos at 3x speed. Like, and it's just, and then if I see something wrong whilst I'm on the treadmill and doing 3 other things, I flag it. That's literally my process. Creatively, that's been how we've worked. I have worked with other editors like for projects, either via clients and being the face contact there. And it is one of those things of, you really have to almost get to know your client. And I'm sure that's the same as the editor, but as a creator, take some time to learn your editor's style slightly as well as your own. Like, if you're shopping for an editor, try to find someone you think matches your existing visual profile, or have them in a place where they've never done it before and you can just train them to do it. But that's a long form process.
But my wife in another room, sit her down and be like, right, this is how my brain works when it comes to making videos. Do this, please.
going back to when we first started doing the edits, you started on Hades, and we started doing I chose Hades as a series. Literally, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I chose Hades as a series for you to edit because I knew it was a game that you had interest in. Therefore, it would make like the transitioning into how I edit videos easier for you, sort of thing. And then we transitioned the content again, and then you started doing like, my normal Paradox stuff.
Crusader Kings, for instance, was like the one that I've been doing a lot. Like on our calendar somewhere, is there a calendar? I did a lot of Crusader Kings. I did so much to the point where I understand the game. I love Crusader Kings 3, by the way. I can't play it. I can't play it because I don't understand how to play it, but I understand what's happening. And I love watching people play the game. Like, it's now like my little, like, my happy brain moment when I can sit down and someone's streaming it and I'm like, yes, this is good. You've recently got me into Fallout again, but I'm not editing that. It's great. There's so many games that you got me to edit that I've genuinely started enjoying because of the style that I'm doing. I have taken over your entire Baldur's Gate series before you moved me over to upload. That's the thing I was going to say, is that I like that you now trust me enough. There's at one point where you just took out the training wheels and you're like, just do it. I'm not going to look through it. Just, here you go. And then I did all the videos.
That's what I do with this, to be honest, because I know I've seen what you guys have done already, and I've watched one of the early ones that we did, and I was like, I don't need to check in and add another voice to the mix, because I mean, I don't think it would confuse like the pot here, but I think it's like you guys already have such a good understanding of the fact that usually one of you is already like sitting in on it anyway, or we've got like the notes that Midgeman sets up anyway. And I think that, I was looking at it and I was like, I can't, there's nothing I can say that's going to help or add to it here, because you guys are already pretty much instinctively just letting, I mean, I guess with the podcast format, it's kind of letting it instinctively and naturally flow anyway, and just knowing where to call the hard cuts and the transitions, or, it's when it gets too rambly and tangents and we need to pull it back or something like that.
So you mean 80% of the podcast, or?
Yeah, basically. 80% being tone. It's like 95, come on.
We've been recording for 40 minutes on this episode. It's only 20 minutes long. You guys don't know what else.
I looked at that early on and I was like, this is, for me as a creator coming to it, it's like, this is the dream process, because you guys are already instinctively in tune with each other, and I'm kind of just fitting in as an extra little like puzzle piece on the side. You guys already have the workflow already there, but you already also instinctively know the style that we're going for and what we need. So it's just like there's very minimal kind of need to kind of interact on top of that, because you guys have got it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, you're right. And I really, like, as someone I figured out my editing style. 'Cause this is what I think me and Dan have discussed this multiple times. That I love long form content a lot. And also when it comes to clients, I feel more comfortable having long-term clients rather than short-term, because that way I understand what they want and I can give them the best possible projects and what's it called? The thing when you give the things. I can give you the thing that you need. Take it. It's very much a case of, one, it's what I'm used to, it's what I prefer, but also I think it's easier on everyone involved if you can like link in with a client or a creator and know exactly what you both want to create the best possible content that matches the rest of your content. It's like Tetris. Just works. It just works.
Yeah, sure.
Good teaspoon.
I've got more questions. I'm going to get through them. Some of them. Dan and Fox. I'm going to start with Dan, because Fox, you just spoke. What is your biggest piece of advice to an editor looking to edit for content creators?
Jesus.
Leave me alone.
Honestly, though, well, it depends. Are we going for if we're going for that sort of the take of they want to become a YouTube editor and they've not got editing experience, I'd say pick up whatever the best like sort of software for free you can get In my opinion, it's still DaVinci. DaVinci Resolve right now is free and it's incredible. It's a massive learning curve to it, but once you get the hang of it, it is the strongest software on the market, if you ask me.
If only there was a website that had lots of really good video tutorials on learning.
Exactly. Crazy.
Something like that. We should make that. We should do that.
But yeah, no, if you're getting into the industry and want to learn, pick up the cheapest software you can find, which is going to be free, and just start figuring out how you do it on your own. Like, do your own sort of stuff, make some base, like sort of record a bit of gameplay in yourself, and then just figure out what you want to do with it and figure out a style that works for you. Once you figure out, like, for instance, a style for me is that I am massively into the idea of overdoing, like, sort of with effort on certain stuff. So I like to basically go into detail in, like, my edits where I'm like going frame by frame to make sure things are perfect. I am a perfectionist editor, so like if it's not 100% correct, I'm going to keep going until it looks perfect. If there's something about it that doesn't work, I'm going to keep going back and going until it gets to the point where I'm happy with it. Once you've got to the point where you figured out your style, whatever that may be, I'd say then there is like websites you can go to where you can upload like sort of your material that you've done. For instance, I know that Nikki now uses Doris as like sort of a like place to put all their stuff they've done in the past, like as a portfolio, so to speak. But there are other websites where you can go for specifically YouTube or content creator style places like YouTube Jobs. I don't know how good it is, but I know that a lot of people post job postings on there nowadays, so you could even go in there. It's going to be you versus the rat race though, so God knows if you'll find anything on there. But also Twitter, there's all sorts of places. Yes, I'm using it, Twitter. There's all sorts of places where you can go and basically type in YouTube editor jobs, and like you'll eventually find something that sticks. But for the most part, just keep hammering out your actual skill of editing until you get to the point where you feel that you're good enough to do something professionally. The moment you're paid for it, it's the point you've made it. So once you get past that first hurdle of actually being paid for a job, you're basically 80% of the way of being there already, because then from that point on, you can just keep going and going and going and bigger and bigger and bigger. There's no end, really. Find what you enjoy. Yeah.
That's a really good response. Wow.
What about you?
I can't live up
No
to
notes.
that.
No
Don't
notes.
make me.
And he just even like you can agree to what Dan says, but if you have any you have other tips.
You know what I'm going to say? I will say that I got my job with editing through literal pure luck.
That happens too.
It's very rare. If you're a creator, you'll understand when I say everything that happens in creation is through pure luck. Sometimes a little bit of hard work, but sometimes it's just like, oh, this video blew up for no reason. It's kind of like editing and getting a job with editing for me. It just happened. Like, Midgeman just approached me like, oh, hey, I needed some stuff editing. Were you looking for jobs? And I was like, yes, I'm looking for jobs. Because at the time I was struggling with money because thanks Twitch. But I literally got into editing through sheer chance. My work with Paradox is through Midgeman because if I wasn't working with Midgeman, I don't think I would be working for Paradox because he was the one that turned around to them and went, yes, you can have her. She's really good. Which, thank you so much. I appreciate you. That's that. Like, I don't have anything to add.
We've discussed this a few times, Midge. Like, sort of, you keep telling me that, like, you're the person who finds people with like talent, and then you put them in the place where they need to be.
Yes, he does. He's really good at that. He's just like, oh, whoop.
Okay, the scene in my head about that business meeting is I'll change it. I'm in the swanky suit. You're in a massive fur coat with like hat.
Yeah.
With gold rings.
And I've had heart-to-hearts with both of these guys before, like, because again, the mental game of content creation can be a lot, especially now. The biggest thing for me, I've noticed, because I pay these people a meager salary, but it's still a thing of
Tax efficient salary.
what their contract I'm going to be very clear on this. They are both subcontractors of my company. I have them both on a 10-hour a week rolling schedule at, I think, 15 an hour is how much I pay you both. I'd love it to be more, and I would love it to be I'd full-time hire these people, but I physically, like, for example, I technically went into the red this month, like, for the first time since starting my company. Like, this is the first month I have not made a profit. It's now a thing of, for me, having the extra pressure of having dependence on the work that we create is a really... I'm so lucky it's these two, because they are passionate people who love what we create as a thing. Being able to do that, and it's one of those things of, I do not mind losing money 1 month right now, or 4 months right now, because again, I'm pretty good financially management on my company. We're fine. It's not a, oh no, we're in the red. It's just because I've decided to take 4 months or 5 months off of doing hard client work. That's the reason. Like, it's like I was working 7 days a week and I didn't want to anymore.
That's unhealthy. Don't do that.
That which is a luxury thing to have done, and started a podcast in the meantime. That's what I've done.
But the therapy is really good from it. So much happier now.
I've had heart-to-hearts with both these people and said, look, even if I stop hiring you as subcontractors, the thing I want to have done with this is made sure that at that moment I say, if I have to say, I really don't want to say, is like, if at that moment I say, hey, I need to cancel our contract, I can't afford this anymore, hoping it won't get it. I'm like 80% sure it won't. But it's like, it's always going to be there. But it's one of those things of, if I have worked hard enough, I've put these people in a place where either it's not going to be devastating that they've lost my work. In fact, they're probably, oh, actually, that's a bit of free time. I can now take a bit more clients because they've had those connections. Or it's like, there's been enough like training or learning or exercises from that they have got a place where they can just continue without me. I like to say I pride myself on that, but it's like one of those things of, it's... talking about like Parabellum, like I love that Lath is another person that does this with people and finds good places to put them. Like he's another perceptive egg. But like, I think the reason Parabellum has worked so well off of our first season is they've realized, I know that I'm good on camera, but only as a thing of, I shouldn't be the person carrying it all the time. Like, especially in hosting jobs, like this product will work better with Red and Lath in the front and me on the back end, and it's going perfectly. It's like almost being self-critical and identifying that's where the strengths are. And I think that's what's helped with the team. And I think you can, if you're an editor, you identifying that you have a product that you can turn around and be, I'm taking weight off of someone's shoulders. That's actually a really like decent, a decent thing. And the other thing that is a piece of advice that I'm got a really hard swipe left, and it's been brought to my mind because I've spoken about money, is as an editor, please don't sell yourself short. Please do not undercharge. Editors are so taken for granted, and creators, if you're listening to this, yes, they look expensive. They are worth every penny. Again, learn to edit yourself if you can. But if you are going down the route of editors, they are the most creative people you could probably come across. They will elevate your content. They are there to help you. And if you respect them, they will help you create awesome content. Like, we could not do this podcast without Dan and Fox. I could not be creating the types of videos I'm passionate about and happy with without Dan and Fox. And it's like one of those things of, you take it seriously. Like, I am so happy to live at my parents' a bit longer, spend the money I could be saving for a house and etc. to fund making awesome content, because for me, that's where I've realized the priority is, and what will actually elevate everything I do, even if it's not in my own content creation, and if it's like me and Lion talked about with the exit strategies and stuff, if it is elevating the products I can show clients, that's a great thing. And
then when you do that, look, you've got a team or a network of people that you've worked with along the way that you already work really well with. You know how they work. I mean, people say like it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's a bit of both actually, because it's very important to know certain things. But I think now more than ever, like, it is who you know as well, in terms of who you've worked with and who you know knows what they know, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, knowing that you two know your shit when it comes to editing, and also you know how to work with creatives like us, and that you've worked on existing videos and projects and everything else. Like, that is so valuable, because then when something perhaps comes across, Midge is like, oh, I've got a new production idea. He's like, if only I had a crack squad of well-trained producers and editors that could, and And then, yeah, cue our own A-Team montage.
I want to add a very brief thing, mostly to Lionhearts, because I do have something I want to say about what Midgeman has said, but I'll be gentle with my words. But what Lionheart has said in terms of like knowing people, back what I said previously about how I got into the industry, it's literally knowing the right people. It's who you know within the industry. For instance, where I know Midgeman and then I know Paradox, and then I actually got a client who is a YouTube creator, and then he hired me for some work. But like, if I didn't know him, obviously I wouldn't get the work. It's literally who you know, and also advertising yourself in a way that's not you sliding into people's DMs going, "Hello, would you like some edits done?" Don't do that. Don't.
Please don't.
Please don't.
So
do that. Oh my
creepy.
god, it's like the worst thing.
There's your bit of advice. Oh, no. Okay, this is the worst. I had an email a while ago.
Another one?
An editor trying to obviously get edit work led with the emails just like, essentially they were trying to say that they could really help improve. They used the words improve, elevate, and stuff for your existing content. And I was just like,
the catchwords.
It's like one of those things of like, you don't realize how much of a backhanded compliment it is you've just given me, because basically it's what you've said in outline in the most, you've tried to be respectful about it, but you've turned around and said,
a child.
"Oh, we got Baba."
It's a baby.
Sorry,
it's a baby.
There is a bambino. It was the most backhanded way of saying it, because they're saying, "I've looked at your content. It can be improved this, and this way." Some creators will not ever want you to tell them that, because like, of course, if you're in a working relationship and say, "Hey, I feel like we could do this better." But the fact that I have two editors that I work with collaboratively, I also edit myself, and I think I've got some really good content. Yes, it's not always a hit, but I am proud of the content. For someone to come in and say, "This can be improved," is like,
It's so rude. It's like, you're not going to get the job. If you do that, if you insult the creator when they've worked their ass off, regardless if they're got 1,000 subscribers or 10 or 1 million, it's so insulting. And you're just going to be put on the list. Like, because they're going to tell everyone else, because creators talk as well as editors. Editors also talk, creators talk, they all talk, and they're like, and speaking of people who do that, editors who do that, who I'm not sure if that's actually a spam person or a legitimate person.
No, this was genuinely a person, because this also became a Discord message, and I gave them some advice back and forth on Discord. So it was legitimately.
Found there's like a Discord spam thing at the moment where they'll add you. They'll be like, "Hey, how you doing? How'd you get into streaming?" And I'm like, what do you like? Clearly you don't know who, like, in this way, do you even know who I am? Like I've been streaming for ages. The thing is, there's a way to ask that kind of question of like, how do you get started? Like, it doesn't come across as if you're a bot or like a spam thing. And then eventually be like, "Hey, so I've been doing some edits," and you're like, "No, bye, close that DM. That's, yeah, don't, stop, please, no."
There's a thin line between advertising and being a mosquito trying to latch on to somebody in the most irritating way possible. And I think that it's a very fine line as well, because you can come into it with the best intentions, trying to be like sort of very respectful, but the moment that you basically then, without any prior like sort of consent or like warning, like you're going to then basically go, "Hire me," it doesn't come off incredibly well. It comes off very leechy in a way, because you're offering things that have not been asked for. And it's a very good way to think about life in general, honestly.
If you want to edit for a creator, or if you want to try out editing with the content that's already out there by a creator, you can always, again, it's easier if you're friends with a creator, because you can be like, "Hey, could I perhaps edit this clip for you for free?" You would have to be for free at that stage, because like, you're not in a contract with them. But if you want to like do it for yourself, or like try out editing for yourself and experiment, if you have a friend who's a creator, just be like, "Hey, could I perhaps like edit this clip?" Or if you watch a creator, I think it's also kind of okay to like edit a clip and just like share it in the Discord, instead of like going straight to them in the DMs. Like, share it in Discord, be like, "Hey guys, would you like I did this.
I understand it's like, it's asking people to do work for free, but I would be far more receptive to kind of like random DMs and emails and offers if it was someone editing one of my existing videos or making some clips out of it and saying, here's what I did with your, because in that's possible, it's like, it's great if you've got a portfolio and you show me what you've done with other projects and other creators, but ultimately it was going to hook me in with, again, like limited time, trying to manage all the different facets of content creation, business management, having a baby brought in mid-podcast is your time. And if your hook to me would be, here's some clips of your content that I've done in my style. Are these of any interest to you? Also I would say as well, from the off with me, I'd be much happier to know your rates from the first email. We don't need to have some back and forth. Like, let me know what you would charge me for, say, 1 short, 5 shorts, 10 shorts, what what you would charge me for a fixed cost of doing a video project, if you're going to give me a bit of a discount rather than charging me by time, or what your hourly rate is. Like, that's what I want to know, because even if I don't want to use you for a specific project, like, there's stuff that I think about projects and stuff I'd like to do all the time that I know I just don't have, but maybe it'll come to a point where I'm like, you know what, I've had a good month. I've got some extra funds lying around. Let's go back to one of those ones that reached out that I know edited my existing content in a style I was happy with. Yeah. Does that sound good? Yeah, cool. And, I know their rates. I mean, okay, I can say like, are those still your latest up to date rates? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, all good.
Cool. All right.
It is really about empowering the worker and making sure that people get paid.
He was also trying to tell rates. I'm pretty sure that I thought he said 20 an hour.
Into this topic, it's very important.
Expensive, boy.
Like, there's also the building on from like sort of the like. You'd be more interested in seeing like sort of content or edited content that's from your own style and stuff. I've seen a lot of people nowadays also basically do like they post like sort of cut downs of streams and they try to add their own twist to them and everything onto YouTube nowadays. And I'm pretty sure that's also not a bad way of thinking about it as well, because like if you do it that way, then you're also, there's a chance that you'll get people seeing it. The bigger your videos are like sort of getting from this, there's more chance that the person who makes the videos originally sees it as well. And I think that's probably a good way in.
If someone came to me and said, there's this whole channel of these amazing edits of your content, I'd be like, wow.
Buy that channel.
Yeah, I'd be like, either buy that or like keep doing that, but I want to pay you now as well to do content for my channel. And like, also, I know, one, if your stuff's already doing really well, amazing. Far less work for me. It's literally like kind of copy paste mode for me as a creator. You still get to do what you're doing creatively, but now I'm going to pay you to do some additional stuff on the side. Like, yeah, I would say do that.
I would be careful just because...
Yeah, what I think you're leading onto here, do that within what is allowable.
Within the like Creative Commons, etc., you can borrow people's content and use it if it is performative and adaptive of that content, but like just essentially... It's make sure that like if you are using someone's content, please tag them in it, like in the description, give credit. Don't try to pass it off as directly your content. But there is another way, which isn't the way that we work directly, but there is another way to work as an editor in the industry or a content producer in the industry, which is to have a deal with a creator. They do all the actual, playing, streaming, etc., and you do the editing. And you take a split of the ad revenue.
You rev share of the, yeah.
Which I like. Conceptually, I love rev share. And this is something that basically right now doesn't work for my channels because the rev share pays essentially half of one of their bills. And I'd rather be like, no, I want you guys on retainer. I want us to keep creating. So I'm going to just, pay you on an hourly thing. But taking rev share is one of the things. One, it has a higher band of success. Because if the channel takes off and it's making loads of money, you're getting a higher cut of it rather than being paid edit rates. But also, as creators, if you can get an editor who is interested in rev share, you are both dedicated to making sure that there's rev share and that the channel grows because you're both reliant on that for the payout, if that makes sense. So
you're incentivized to make it successful.
There's the incentivization there. Exactly. Yes, exactly that. Also, as a note, just because I want to say, because I've spoken about how much I pay these guys as a final thing is, I personally don't think that's enough. The hours I give them and the amount I ask them to do and the amount that I pay them, for me, I don't feel right doing, but it's all I can do.
And this is the first time you've let them out of the cave so long.
Exactly. No, like they're seeing the light for once. But at the same time, I think there comes an element. I'm putting words in their mouth because I hope that this is the case, but it's one of those things of we now all have ownership of the content we create. So there is that element of we are all as invested. The fact that they get paid is very, very nice, but it's also one of the things of like we're in that position. But yeah, editors, please make sure that you get paid. Like, look, I've said it before. Gosh, Sam. God, we've mentioned him on the podcast before.
Sam something.
Woodhalls.
No idea.
One of those.
I'll put him in somewhere.
Something.
Again.
He's got a platform where you can run editing businesses from. It is you pay like once a year, and it's got like, it allows you to do your invoicing, everything, management, scheduling, uploading, that kind of thing. But also follow him on Twitter just generally, because he is an editor from the industry, worked with big names. He's been a content creator in his own right. He's very knowledgeable, but he's also working to try and set out standard industry rates for editors. It's a good idea if you're an editor listening, looking to, work out how much you should be charging. And I think the base floor of it is about $20 an hour of work, which I think in English money is about what I pay these guys. I think I'm slightly below it now.
When you were saying if you are doing those like remixes or your own edits of creators, and make sure you tag them, like, yeah, definitely do like the @ and then like type in their name and then select it from the list, because the creator will get a notification of that always like pops up. That's like one of the ones I can never turn off or whatever. But it always pops up when I'm in my creator studio when I'm tagged or mentioned by somebody else. And a couple of times people have mentioned me just randomly, I think, to kind of just associate their video with my stuff. And it does make me check it out though. Like, so if you are going to do that type of thing, obviously do it within reason, make sure it is transformative, but yeah, it's worth a tag.
Well, gang, thank Dan, Foxy, thank you for coming on. Oh, no. He's sad.
He's sad at the end.
We'll have to carry on for another 2 hours.
It's okay. We'll be back next Thursday.
Exactly, bro.
Thursday's too long.
We'll catch you guys next time we upload.
Bye.